My credo is I believe when you've got art, you've got voice, and when you've got voice, you've got freedom. And I think our people have been incredibly responsible with our voice and our freedom. I'm Richard Frankland. I'm a Gunditj Mara fella, and it means family of man in my language. And I'm from Western District, Victoria. It's a non-Aboriginal name. I do lateral violence workshops. I'm a filmmaker, a novelist, playwright, and I do a whole heap of community capacity building work. So most mornings, my family and I, we walk way down and we come down here and you get this beautiful sunrise coming up. And when I'm home, it's sort of one of the things that gets us together. And sometimes I get to come down here just with me. But what used to happen is a whale would wash up and the mob would send messengers, light a fire, and people from all the other clans would come around. We'd have a big feed, sort out politics, marriages, all that type of stuff. It was pretty special times. So when I walk around here, I walk in the footsteps of 1,500 generations of my grandfathers and grandmothers. This type of stuff is really sacred to me. It completes me as a man. I grew up a bit of everywhere. I grew up in Gippsland a little bit, Alice Springs a little bit, mainly around Portland and Melbourne a little bit. What it was like was, it was a bit rough. Mum was a single mum, a lot of kids, and we lost a couple along the way. I guess it was a bit like most blackfella families, you know, we've seen a lot of grief and a lot of death, a lot of sadness. We've also seen a lot of wonderful things and great achievements. We had uncles and aunties who achieved great things, and extended family who achieved great things, great role models. My daily routine when I'm good, when I'm naughty, it's out of bed about 7, 6. When I'm good, it's out of bed into the training gear and down the beach. You come back and then it's the kids. They eat, like full on. And the day gets organised around the table. They head off to school, sometimes I drop one, then I'm into my day. I have a meeting with my office manager about what's coming up in the diary, or I write. I write in about 3 places. I write on my couch, I write at the kitchen table, and I write in my office. And like a typical writer, you get stuck sometimes and you walk around, or you procrastinate. You end up doing jobs that you don't need to do, really, or they need to be done but you can't sit at the computer. So I've got jobs that I do like fencing, cutting grass, checking a horse, all that type of stuff. Then off to pick up the little one, and the bigger ones come home and generally the partner cooks up the feed, or if the family's really fortunate, I might have cooked something. I travel a lot, and it's great. You know, you go to communities and you help people. Today we're on the way into Portland, which is a little drive, and we'll work with some Aboriginal ladies about developing up a lateral violence and cultural awareness program specifically about Aboriginal women and the cultural loads they carry and things like that. It'll take a bit of work. And really what will happen is they'll take it, they'll run it, they'll own it, and they'll come up with stuff to educate the masses about the joys and the wants and the hardship of being an Aboriginal woman in Australia today. I've had a lot of jobs and I've done lots of things. I was loading wool bales in railway cars. My big brother was doing the same. I worked at the abattoirs. I busted up concrete with a sledgehammer. I was a deep sea fisherman. I was a soldier twice. I've been a filmmaker. I've had films at Cannes and won awards all over the world. Won lots of films I've worked on. I've won lots of AFI awards and stuff. I've got a master's degree in multiple narratives. I've done lots of plays. One of the plays I wrote is in Australia's greatest 200 bits of literature. I've been pretty fortunate. I do a lot of community work, a lot of mentoring. I really enjoy that. I do lots of community capacity building. I go into communities where there's troubled or they want to improve their knowledge on lateral violence and cultural safety, and we do workshops. I've done about 500 workshops, I reckon, over the last 5 years. Worked me bloody old bum off, and I do lots of workshops on that cultural safety as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got to wind up now. Can I say thank you very much? I hope you weren't offended. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope to see you at the next one. See you later. I've got a few tasks on at the moment. I've got a play coming out at the Malthouse called Walking into the Bigness. I've got a feature script to tidy up. Hopefully we'll be shooting it next year. I've got a new novel I'm working on, and I've got an opera which I'm halfway through the libretto, and I should have the libretto and most of the composing done September, October, I reckon. I'm working on another book about cultural foundations, lateral violence and the process of both. And the biggest thing I'm working on is my kids and family. They're pretty good. They keep me grounded. G'day mate, Richard here, how are you? This is a very broad objective and it's changeable for you guys to create, develop and implement an Aboriginal women's specific lateral violence cultural safety program. So today I wanted to just talk and I want to do a lot of listening. Lateral violence is a term that came from, I learned it through a Canadian Aboriginal film that was promoting the negativities of lateral violence. And it's endemic amongst our mob. Indigenous people all over the world are struggling with this phenomenon. An example of lateral violence is when we go and we get a whole heap of other people to attack an individual or a group. So it might be that we stack meetings. The tools we use are gossip, put downs. One of the characteristics is we find the negative in someone or we create a negative and we keep repeating it until someone gets labelled bad or wrong. Now what we have is, in Aboriginal affairs, which we never used to have, we have a class structure. And that class structure plays out in two ways. It plays out in the Western way, with money, house and status and all that. And it plays out in the blackfella way of who's got more culture, who's got more law, whose family's together, who's not, all that type of stuff. Lateral violence has several things that define it. One of it is, people call it internalised colonialism. It's when you're on the bottom rung of the ladder and you don't want to send that rage and anger up to those who oppress you. So your rage, anger, fear and terror goes to the side. Steve Biko says that the greatest weapon of the oppressors are the minds of the oppressed. It's about when we turn on each other. It's about when we hurt each other. It's about organised harmful behaviours that we do to each other as part of an oppressed group. So the 4 questions that I came up with is lateral violence different for Aboriginal women and how? What is cultural safety for Aboriginal women? What are cultural loads for Aboriginal women? What are cultural foundations for Aboriginal women? And cultural foundations, in my opinion, give us something solid to put our feet on so that we can protect our families, protect our culture and also grow. And I think what should be up here as well is, do we need a women's specific healing circle?
Yes.
Yeah. And do we need a women's specific dispute resolution process?
This program was developed for women by women, and I think that's very important, that you can't have men talking about cultural safety for women. You need women to put the programs together and deliver those programs. And Richard enabled us to put that program together. He gave us the platform to do that and the tools to do that and to write it up in our own words and our own way. And I'm very proud of it. I haven't actually had the opportunity to roll it out yet, but I'm very proud of what we've done.
Aboriginal people today are still placed in the too hard basket. We're in the corner. I mean, we face a lot of issues today. We face the issue of lateral violence. We face the issue of methamphetamines, which is rife in our communities and becoming rife. We face the issue of discrimination on a multitude of levels. We live, Inga Clendenin says in a book called Dancing with Strangers, we live with a nursery version of history, and subsequently we have a people who cannot grapple with contemporary happenings. And that's very true. We have a nation who for the most part look at our past with rose-coloured glasses. They talk about settlement, they talk about gentle colonisation. It simply wasn't and isn't true. We were invaded, people died, people were slaughtered, men, women and children. And people still suffer as a result of that. Patrick Wolfe says that invasion, settlement or colonisation is a structure and not an event. Aboriginal people live with that trauma. The reality is that we are not the problem. We are a people who carry a massive problem. We bear the brunt of society.
We've achieved and contributed against the odds. I mean, we have inventors, soldiers, RAFIs, naval people, we have police officers, doctors, lawyers, we have activists, we have people who are frontline workers in child protection, in child development, teachers. We're amazing people. We are so resilient. And we have this buoyancy where we bounce back from trauma after trauma. In Victoria, you can go to 15 funerals a year. And I don't know what it's like in other states, but I know it's just as horrific, if not worse. And we bounce back from that again and again, and we achieve. And we come under terrible assaults from governments consistently, but we still bounce back. We still espouse good ethics and good culture. We still save lives and improve the quality of life. We're an amazing people. We do more than just survive. We achieve, we contribute, and we change. We change the very face of Australia.